It's something I get asked about a lot, and it's something I kind of fell into. But people talk about this concept, and I thought it would be worth just, here's my take on it, basically. So it's playing behind the slide. So a realization I had very early on, and it was this big revelation, was playing Muddy Waters, I Can't Be Satisfied. And I can't demonstrate it because I'm not an open G, and the thing that I'm talking about is an open G, but there's a video somewhere on the channel of me teaching that song. But basically there's a point where he plays with his finger down low to kind of answer something. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, so you mean because I've got the slide on, I'm not restricted to just using the slide, I can use my fingers? Wow. And then later on, when I studied more seriously, I kind of learned that the trick was to use your first finger to do this, and really to avoid using those other fingers most of the time, just for medical reasons, really. I mean, you can really hurt your arm doing this too much. But just to kind of, talk about this a little bit, an obvious use for using your finger behind the slide is to allow you to play chord voicings with the slide. So, for instance, an E minor chord could just be suggested by that double stop. Or this could be E, like an E7th chord. It's like an E7, what is that? Well, with that, it's a 13 flat 9 with a D in the bass. It's quite a dense sounding chord. I could play a major 7th. So it's like C major 7th. I could play a minor 9th. So what it allows you to form these voicings using the slide and that first finger. So it's super useful for that. But it's also super useful for improvising. And one way of practicing that would be just to take a scale, say like a pentatonic scale, so our old favorite A minor pentatonic, and you could play the first note on each string with your finger, and then the slide. So I'm just playing the two notes. First note on the string is with the finger, the second note's with the slide, and then in reverse on the way back down. And so what this allows you to do is just kind of practice this idea that you're using the finger and the slide. And it's probably worth mentioning, if it's not obvious, that what happens when you have the slide resting on the strings, if you play the note behind, it depresses the string below the slide. So if I do this, then it's dropping that note down with the fretted note, so that you hear that first finger note instead of the slide. So sometimes there's a bit of an issue with action and height of your strings and all that kind of stuff, but I've got a very low action on this guitar, and it works. It's just kind of practicing that technique. But what it can be very useful for is improvising. It gives you another finger. So one finger guitarist and all that. Well, actually, I've got the slide and this finger now, so I've got, twice as much stuff I can use. And it just has a very interesting effect in terms of intonation as well, because I think by going back to a fretted note occasionally, it kind of keeps your ear in a little bit. So I'll just demonstrate a little bit over this. I've got a C7 loop on my pedal here, and I'll just try and play normally and just show you what I do with this. So. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's just showing that you've got this note behind the slide, and it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but once you kind of start exploring this, it just almost kind of naturally happens, and you start associating those notes with that finger and then the other stuff with the slide. So I'd recommend giving it a go. It's a lot of fun, and it can open up a lot of doors to you. please like, subscribe, comment, whatever YouTube folk do, and I'll see you in the next one.